Let's go, girl.
Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe.
Let's go. Back by unpopular demand.
Us.
It's us. It's Women Talking Football. First time being live from the Bachelorette pad from an undisclosed location because we don't want to let you guys know where we live. My name is Mallory
Love
Hartley.
you, but not that much.
Love you guys, but not that much. My name is Mallory Hartley. I'm the associate producer here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and Dave Campbell's at Texan Live, once again, sitting in the hostess's spot. And over there, arm's length apart from me, I can literally reach out and touch her. She is the AP to my AP. It's Ashley Pickle!
Yo.
Hey, what's going on?
Go.
How does it feel to be back?
Go green.
Go white, baby. Go white. Are we just going to go
Dubs.
right off the top of the bat?
Dubs.
Off the top of the
I feel
show
like
here
it's
with
the
Dubs
leading
season.
It's the leading thing.
It is, man. If you guys missed it, Michigan
First
State.
game of the tournament.
First game of the tournament, minus the play-in games that happened yesterday. The first actual game of the NCAA tournament in the round of 64. Michigan State pulls out in what was a whopping, 61-49 win over
They
Mississippi
led the
State.
entire time.
Something like that. Led the entire time. Started to pull away there at the end, and that was probably, which is really funny because I watched most Michigan State games this year.
Yeah.
And I have not seen a team play that dominant the entire year. Like, that team just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, it was...
It's Izzo in March. I mean, I'm not...
It's Izzo in March. I mean, you can't pick against that with this team's pedigree and everything. But
why do you think he's lasted so long?
Yeah, correct.
You can stink in the regular season and then
He's just
pull
like-
your act together in March.
He dusts off his shoulders a little bit, and he's like, bro, this is my month.
Oh, shoot. There's a 3 in the month.
Correct. I know. But big win for Sparty. They're up in Charlotte in the first round of the NCAA tournament, so super pumped there. Hi, we're back. We're an internet show. We're here most Thursdays at 2 p.m. talking football, basketball around the Lone Star State. This is episode 62 of Women Talking Football. Man, it feels good to be back. I know we've been off for quite a while. We actually got fired and then rehired again, funny enough.
They forced me to come back.
Just kidding. They forced us to come back, so that's why we're doing an episode today. No, we've just been running into... It's been a really, really busy off-season with basketball playoffs. Now we're getting into soccer postseason and
Lots of
sicknesses and traveling, making sure that our partners are doing well on the Texan Live side. But we're back today, and we're happy to be back. We're going to take a trip down memory lane. We're going to throw it all the way back to almost the beginning of February to talk Hill Country Coaching Clinic down there in Fredericksburg, Texas. We'll talk about our time down there, and we'll talk to one of the Hill Country Coaching Clinic directors, Mr. Zane Bodie. He was kind enough to join us there on the first day and kind of talk about what the clinic means to him and what's all involved there down there in the Hill Country for that clinic. Then in the back half, man... You guessed it. We're going to talk some hoops and why March Madness is probably the best time of year, I would say, to most people. Maybe behind football season. But March Madness, man, one of the best times of year. And we'll tell you why. So stick around for that. Should we just hop right into it?
Yeah. It's been a while, but, man, we've got to talk about it for at least a minute. They were kind enough to invite us down there, and we just haven't been able to have a show since we made it all the way down there. But we got some great interviews. I mean, I know most people have probably seen this, but it's worth listening to.
Yeah, definitely. I think I love the Hill Country Coaching Clinic so much. No, we go to a couple of coaching clinics. We go to the DFW Coaching Clinic. Mm-hmm. We go
I've been to the
College Station Coaching Clinic.
Yeah, the Lone Star one quite a few times.
Clinic. But I'd say this, and then obviously we're at the big coaching clinic, THSCA Coaching Clinic in July. We're always at that. But this one holds a little bit of a special place in our hearts, I would say, the Hill Country Coaching Clinic, because... And their motto is, it's where the wives have the most fun. They always have this coaching clinic right over Valentine's Day weekend because they encourage all of the coaches to bring their wives to the event. And that's where we have the most fun, because we get to not only talk to all of our favorite coaches that get to the opportunity to go down there and participate in all the panels and all the fun stuff that they have planned, but we also get to talk to all of our favorite coaches' wives down there as well.
Yeah, and that's a blast, and I love it so much because it's giving them the opportunity to be celebrated in the way that they deserve. Like, I think anybody, we're not coaches' wives. My fiance works in an athletic department, right. So I feel like adjacently, I get it. When you were married or dating or whatever, just know people, even sons or daughters or whoever. If you're living a life in and around athletics, it's not just your life. No. It affects everybody around you.
Right. I mean, I obviously don't know exactly everything that Brian does at the University of Houston. I've got a good grasp on it, but I just know that he works all the time. And you're just as invested as he is. Honestly, you're always like, hey, did you see the Cougs win in softball? And I was like, heck yeah, they did. Let's go.
You learn to love sports that you didn't think that you would end up watching as much. You learn to support going to the games and being a part of the program as much as you can. And I feel like that's what, I mean, you ask any coach and every single time, whether it's winning a state championship, whether it's winning a district game, whether it's having a good day at practice, the first people that they always think is their wives typically, because it's like they're back home. They're keeping the house on lock. I'm basically an absentee husband / dad / father,
exactly.
All of that throughout the year. And I mean, we feel that way with our family. Even you can say that of like, Mom, Dad, sorry. It's hard for me to come home right now because we've got, it's football season, and they know that. And so I just think that the Hill Country Coaching Clinic is so cool, and it's just so fun to see all of those wives that put in and sacrifice so much throughout the year to keep their households running, to keep the kids getting to school on time, to keep all of that going. It's cool to watch the coaches enjoy watching their wives have a good time, enjoy seeing them win door prizes, them getting to be in the spotlight a little bit, even all around those coaches so much. It's a really, really cool thing that the Hill Country Coaching Clinic does for the wives.
I think so too. And talking to some of the wives throughout the weekend, I mean, they get probably even more excited, if not just as excited, to get away, and because they've all created a group of their own. Really, I mean, they're all supporting each other because, like you said, it takes such a toll on them as well because they're gone half the season, So having that kind of, I guess, camaraderie between all of the wives as well, they can make connections, and, they all kind of know what they're all going through, during that time. So it's a really, really neat clinic. We got down there on that Friday, and we got to actually see some of the panels that were going on. Stephenville head coach Sterling Doty was there. He talked about, I don't remember what he talked about, but he was up on there on a panel. Maybe their defense or something like that.
I think it was, defensive
schemes or something like that. And then we got a couple of interviews when we were there as well. We got to talk to Travis Bush, the new head coach of the UT RGV Vaqueros.
Yes.
That was really, really fun to kind of hear his experience with creating a whole new program from scratch and hearing all of the Texas high school football players that they have been able to convince to play for that program here in the next couple of years or so. They won't actually play in the 2024 season. Their first season officially will be 2025. So that was really cool to hear his perspective on that. And how the heck do you create a program from a college football program from the ground up,
Oh, yeah. Well, and especially, too, I mean, he had said they had it was either, I'm going to get this wrong, 72 or 74. I think it was 72.
Yeah, it was in between there,
it's 72, I believe. Texas high school football players already there on campus practicing, ready to go. Just think about that. Put that into perspective of you sign up for a job, per se, knowing for a fact that you are going to put in the work for over a year. I mean, year and a half, almost 2 years before you get to show anybody something. That would be like us working on a video for 2 years and not getting to go out there and really get in the feel of it.
Exactly.
Or watching 2 years of Texas high school football but not being able to write an article about it. But he was like, man, they're just bought in, and what they're doing, the recruiting trail, it's been cool to see. The queen of the RGV,
his wife was down there.
She was fantastic. So it was cool.
It was really, really cool to see. Another person we got to talk to during that Friday was one of the Hill Country Coaching Clinic directors, Mr. Zane Bodie himself. He loves when we come down there. I love to see them. We love to see Mrs. Bodie as well.
Oh yeah, the whole clan.
Bodie, yeah, the whole Bodie clan's always down there. We love to see them as well. Clay Bodie too. But we got to talk to Zane a little bit about the Hill Country Coaching Clinic, why they thought it was a good idea to include their wives, and, what are all of the activities that the coaches and their wives get to do together.
How much it's grown.
How much it's grown since the first time that they started including those wives into the coaching clinic. But it was a really, really great conversation, and we're going to go ahead and show it to you right now. So without further ado, here's Zane Boney, one of the
She almost had the landing.
Coaching clinic directors here on Women Talking Football.
A successful dismount.
Mallory Hartley here with Dave Campbell's Texas Football, texasfootball.com. Sitting here in Fredericksburg, Texas for the Hill Country Coaching Clinic with a clinic director, Mr. Zane Boney. Thanks for having us out again this year. I'm really, really excited to be here.
Y'all are always welcome with us. We're really excited to have y'all. You have increased our advertising statewide with what you do. You've actually got me listening to y'all's podcast from time to time. Incredible.
Well, you and nobody else, right? So for people that don't know much about the Hill Country Coaching Clinic, kind of tell the people, what it's about and what its main selling point is.
What we started out, this is actually our 10th year. What we started out 10 years ago was trying to develop a clinic where you could incorporate and bring your wife and actually share your passion and let her start networking with people and get to do it. And what it's turned into 10 years later is a wives gathering where the coaches are allowed to come, but they're just said, y'all stay away from what we're doing over here. But it really is something, it's kind of a thing that's close to our heart. I coached for 28 years. I'm retired now. My wife got to attend one clinic with me in 28 years, and that was really a special weekend for me to get to share something that I love so much with her. And this is something that we want to do now, is share with all these coaches across the state and get your wife involved, and it's been great. It's been a blessing.
And it's the perfect place for it too, right, Fredericksburg?
Absolutely. All the coaches come in and they're angry because the last thing their wife says is, give me the credit card. And, they shop for 3 hours. We have a social going on now with the wives. While we've started talking football, they're over there having a wine tasting and a social and a gathering and just gossiping away.
I love that. Now, you've had a big attendance last year. How many coaches are at the clinic this year, or at least signed up to attend this clinic?
Pre-registration, we're just over 200 coaches, and we have a ton of walk-ins and people that just show up. So we're going to be around 300, 325 is what we're hoping for this year.
And then typically, how many of them actually bring their wives to the clinic?
That's a tough thing to say. Usually around 200 wives. We'll know more tonight when we get together in our little social and give the wives all the presents and prizes. So it's going to be a packed house tonight.
And for all the coaches' wives that weren't able to maybe attend this year, all the coaches, what are some of the fun things that the coaches' wives have on the docket? And then what are some of the fun things that the coaches and their wives can do together throughout the clinic?
Right off the bat, when the wives check in over at the clinic, we have a goodie bag for them, and a lot of and I'm going to turn and point like we're on town, a lot of the Main Street stores and vendors have discounts and freebies when they walk in and shop. So they have a section right off the bat called Shop Till You Drop. There goes the credit card thing with the coaches. Shop Till You Drop. They come back in and they have a meet and greet starting at about 2:30 to 5. And during that time, we've got some booths set up for them. Fan Glam is there. We have a couple of wine vineyards over there this year, and they're actually doing a wine tasting. And then from 5:30 to 7:30, we want them to go eat with their husbands. We tell your husband, take you out, y'all go out and eat and celebrate each other. We come back in for our social, our first social Friday night, 7:30, and we give away tons and tons of gifts to the wives, just tons of gifts to the wives. The wives are the only one that can win. It gets pretty raucous in there when we start giving out prizes. Tomorrow morning, we have a devotional through Coaches Outreach. They have FCA and Coaches Outreach have partnered with us since we started this clinic. We'll bring the wives in, feed them breakfast, and have a devotional. And then we've always invited the wives back for our last lecture of the day. This year we have Stephen Mackey, who's going to do a great motivational thing for our coaches. And then year before last, we started date night on Saturday night. And we take over a local establishment here on Main, and our sponsors handle all the bill, and we take care of the coaches, and we have live music. It's a special weekend.
That's awesome. Well, I'll let you get back to work here. You're going to go in there and work with your brother here at the front desk, checking everybody in. But I really appreciate you inviting us back out here. We, of course, love to be here and love to hang out with all the coaches and their wives as well. So thanks for having us out again.
Thank you. You'll have a standing invite every year. Thank you so much.
Thanks again to Zane Bodie, one of the Hill Country Coaching Clinic. Got it. Directors.
There's a first time for everything.
Yeah, there's a first time for everything. Down there in Fredericksburg, we appreciate him taking the time out of his busy schedule to talk about all of the great things that the Hill Country Coaching Clinic has to offer. I think one of the coolest things that I think that he mentioned in an interview was that they actually have a couples devotional, I believe on that Saturday
morning,
where all the couples get to go to that. And they also have a wives clinic as well, which we're always invited to. That's always on that Friday. I guess it's probably a wives social, I would say, where they've got cool vendors that come out.
Meet, greet, and wine.
Meet, greet, and wine, correct. Yeah. That's why we're invited. But they always have cool vendors that come out there, which is really cool. A lot of jewelry vendors and purses and backpacks and stuff. Mrs. Coach Cluley, we got to see her, and she was loading up the shopping cart there.
Which Coach Cluley was doing his due diligence because he walked into the meet, greet, and wine with like just bags all over his arms, and we were like, correct.
He was doing it right. You know, he absolutely knew what he was doing, and he was spoiling her to death. So that was really cool to see. But we had a fantastic time down there. I mean, we always do, and we always appreciate how generous the Hill Country Coaching Clinic is to us. And, you know, as long as y'all have us back, we'll be there.
Yeah, and we hope that
is circled on our calendar almost every single year. I can tell you that.
And we hope that more coaches from across the state will go too. I mean, it's a great way. Treat your wife to it, man. It's great. You go get football knowledge. I mean, there are exceptional speakers there from the college perspective, from the high school perspective, state championship winning coaches. The lineup is fantastic. There's a lot that you can take out of it. And your wife gets to come along and have fun. Get a babysitter for the kids, drop them off at grandma and grandpa's, do whatever you need to do. Get on out there, and we'll be there to see you.
Absolutely. Another thing that happened at the Hill Country Coaching Clinic, on Saturday, we went to a winery.
Oh, yeah.
And I already knew it was coming.
Well, we live
together. But you had a very important question to ask me.
I did.
At the Hill Country Coaching Clinic in Fredericksburg, Texas, at one of our favorite wineries.
Yes, Mallory accepted being my maid of honor. So not only is she stuck with me from a roommate perspective, a living perspective, a work perspective, a podcast perspective, she is also knee deep in wedding planning with me. So Correct. Enjoy this for the rest of the year because we'll give you a weekly wedding update.
I think my favorite part about that was that I took a really cute picture of you holding up the box that said, "Will you be my maid of honor?" Which fantastic gifts, by the way.
Thank you.
Like really, really cool stuff. You had this like picture frame that was on a plastic piece of
acrylic.
Yeah. It was a picture of us from New York, and it had a QR code on it. I don't know where you found this idea because it was freaking awesome.
Thank you.
But you scan the QR code, and you had created a Spotify, which is first of all dumb. Should have said no just from that. But you had created a little playlist for us of all of our favorite and enjoyable songs that we like to listen to almost every single day. So that was
names
really
of songs
great.
will not be discussed on said podcast, but the acrylic looked like a spot. Like when you pull up Spotify, that's what it looked like, and so it looked customized and stuff like that. And it was funny because just going off on that for a second, I feel like a lot of people that know me know this. Music is my thing.
Yes,
I am. 9 times out of 10, which is so funny because we work in video and all that stuff, I would rather come home and listen to music
Me too.
than come home and turn on the TV.
Right. And I feel like
I like watching shows, but I would way rather sit there and listen to a vinyl than watch a pointless show.
Right. And I feel like that's where we've always got along so well is that we both share that love for music.
Yep.
When the coolest thing about us too, I feel like, is we listen to so many different types of music, and we're both so open to listening to all types of music. Like I'll share you my rap playlist and you're like, oh heck yeah, and then you'll send me a new country artist and you're like, hey, I think you like this, I think you'll like him, you know.
That's what we should do. We should make this women talking music. It is now WTM.
We do.
I was like, okay, what could I do? And I wanted to burn everybody's CDs, and I was like, I guarantee you I'm the last person in the world that has a CD player in my car, so that's probably dumb. I originally wanted to do vinyl. I wanted to get everybody like their favorite record on vinyl and do like a custom cover, and I was like, not everybody has record players, so that's not going to work. I was like, no one has a CD player anymore. So I was like, what could I do like that would be music? And I was like, oh, a playlist. And then I found those and I was like, yep. So thank you. I was proud of those.
It was really, really cool.
Yeah. Music is a love language. I'm convinced.
Yes. So I took a picture of you holding that up and then I tweeted out, I said, well, my boss just asked me to be her maid of honor today. I guess I have to say yes or she might fire me.
So yeah, word of advice for any brides out there: force your coworker to be your maid of honor, so that way you have a guaranteed maid of honor.
I was gonna say, like, I'm locked in now. Like,
yeah.
I can't not be your maid of honor because then you're gonna fire me.
Yes.
So it's not only are you gonna fire me from a work perspective. Mm-hmm. But also, like, I have to make sure I'm locked into these bridesmaid duties, or I'm going to get fired from that too. So, kind of a double-edged sword here. But no, I'm very thrilled to be your maid of honor, and excited to stand next to you on your special day. Pumped up. We're men talking football. We're here sometimes Thursdays.
We will be from here on out.
Yeah, we will be from here on out. We've got a kind of calm road ahead of us here for the next couple weeks. Talking football, basketball all around the Lone Star State. Before we get into some hoops with a Z talk, let's hear a word from these goods and services.
Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful, long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW.
Everyone just got to hear you completely sniffle into the microphone like 4 times.
I am not sick, but these allergies are kicking my butt right now.
She's a little snotty.
She's just a little snotty. Don't worry about that. But I walked in and I looked at you this morning in our home office and I was like, I'm really snotty.
I walked in
and I'm like,
okay?
And then you're like, well, it is raining outside. And I was like, well, that checks out.
Yeah.
That does make sense. This weather. And the funny thing is,
it blows in.
I never grew up having allergies, ever.
Oh, yeah.
It's just when I've been older that I've realized, oh, yeah, during this time of year,
I die at least twice a year from allergies. I've always done that, though.
Yeah, I don't know why, but anyways, we're still here because we can't miss another show. So.
Correct.
All right, man. Shall we get into some hoops talk?
Yes.
Before we'll talk about our brackets here. We'll talk about who we picked, some of our maybe upset picks, Cinderella teams that we think could make a run here in the NCAA tournament. But you kind of brought up a good point earlier, and you kind of wanted to start this segment off talking about why you think March Madness is one of the best times of year. Now, of course, we work in football. This is women talking football. So I think I can say safely for the both of us that football is probably our favorite sport.
Yeah.
Like football, the football time of year is the best time of year by far.
Yeah.
But NCAA tournament season is a real close second to that, I would say.
Oh, I mean, the thing that I think is so cool about March Madness is the buy-in that you get from everybody.
Yes.
I mean, absolutely correct. Any person that is a sports fan, and a lot of times I feel like people who are not sports fans are bought in to everything March Madness. I feel like it's the perfect length of time.
Uh-huh. Games aren't too long.
Games aren't too long. It's constant throughout the day. You can turn it on, put it in the background. But I think the thing that we were talking about earlier that makes it so great is, let's be honest, we can tie this back to football. We talk so much about the playoffs. Okay, this year, this upcoming football season, we are expanding it. We're going from 4 teams to 12 teams. That's what everybody wants. there's a lot more college basketball programs than there are football programs. I understand that. There is a numbers difference. This would be like comparing March Madness to the NBA. That does not make sense. There are 32 teams, But I think what is so fun about March Madness is the fact that it is one and done. I mean, there is no room for can we get it to a game 7, which is different from almost every other tournament.
Right.
It's not just a certain number of teams. That's a very small swath of them, like in college football. Even with 12, that's a fairly small swath overall.
Right.
What I love about it is it just, the Matthew McConaughey thing where he's like, boo, 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 it doesn't exist, fairy dust. Like, that's what I feel like when it gets to March. It does not matter as long as you made it to the tournament. The discrepancy between the teams a lot of time just kind of poof. We just watched BYU lose.
Right.
To a 12 or 13 seed.
11, yeah.
And so it's just one of those things. I feel like anything can happen at any moment. And yes, there are the 4 teams in the men's bracket right now that are the number 1 seeds that everyone, you're going to say, yes, are they definitely better than the teams that played last night in the play-in games? By a long shot. But every single year that goes by, there is never a time where there's not some sort of upset.
Right.
And obviously, it's not always going to be the 16 seed over the 1 seed like we saw a couple years ago. Like, that was the first time that had ever happened.
Right.
So that's not the normal realm. But there are always upsets, and that's what makes it so stinking fun.
There's just so much more parity in college basketball, and it makes it so much more fun to watch because you can go into the NCAA tournament, and when you're making your bracket, you want to, most likely you're going to go with the higher seeded team. That's kind of always, that's a safe bet, right?
Yep.
But it's tough to pick those upsets because anything can happen.
Right.
When you look at the 4-team college football playoff, obviously the 1 plays the 4, right? Kind of the same as a 1 playing a 16. The best plays the worst of the bunch, right? Most of the time, the 1's going to win in football, right? If if you're in Alabama playing whoever the 4th team is, like that, they're going to win out because they're the best team. But like you said, a couple years ago, it can absolutely happen. The 1 seed can lose in college basketball. And there's a lot of upsets all the time. That's what makes the tournament so much fun. And that's why it's really tough to have a perfect bracket because, again, so much parity in the sport. And I think that's why it is so fun this time of year because you just don't know what's going to happen. Because in football, you can kind of guess who's going to win, right? During the regular season when you always have the Power 4 team playing the G5 team, most likely the G5 team or the Power 4 team is going to win to beat that G5 team, right? But when in, like, for example, like Michigan State's first basketball game this year, we played James Madison. James Madison took us out in overtime.
And y'all were the 4th ranked team going into the preseason.
We were the 4th ranked team. Exactly. And it was like they played us really, really well. It's just easier in college basketball to have those upsets than in football. And to me, that makes it just so much more exciting and fun.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is just, and I mean, I keep going back to this, but it's just the truth. Think about when the NBA playoffs roll around, and I love the NBA playoffs, don't get me wrong, but if your team is advancing every single round, absolutely, you're locked in every single game, all of that. If your team doesn't make it or your team gets knocked out in the first round, let's be honest, most people ditch it and don't watch again until the finals.
Right.
Maybe the conference finals, you know. I just feel like it's so much longer of an extended portion of time. Baseball playoffs are the exact same way in the MLB. You know, by the time the Rangers played their first games all the way down to the World Series, it was like, I have been watching baseball forever, and I've only been watching in the postseason.
Right.
You know, and it just feels like it's so long. Here, I just love the fact that we can turn on a game between Creighton and who knows what. I know nothing about Creighton basketball right now, but I can watch it and instantly become invested. Right. Because it's like, you know. And
you're going for the
upset. And I just feel like being able to root for the upset for so many teams and all of that, it's to me the pinnacle of a sports tournament is what March Madness is. And anybody can fill out a bracket. And that's the other funny thing. Like, there's been multiple people like, oh, my grandma filled out this bracket. And guess what? It beat my bracket, and I watch basketball all the time.
Right.
And I just think it's a fun thing that really pulls everybody together. Tepper's been talking about his son Hank. Hank filled out his first bracket this year, and he is so excited. And when he wakes up in the morning, he wants to know what teams are playing, you know, and it's just, it's cool. It's a great way to get people interested, and it is genuinely, I think, one of the best times of the year by far. Yeah,
and I feel like I've met more people that are casual college basketball fans than any other sport. I mean, I feel like it's so easy to be a casual college basketball fan at this time, which makes it that much bigger of a fan base as a sport in total. And that gets everybody involved. Everybody's tweeting about their picks and their brackets, and it's a lot of fun. I don't remember who this was, but I saw on Twitter that somebody filled out their bracket based on how cute the mascots were.
Yeah,
and I was like, that one's going to beat mine for sure.
Yeah,
like, because I spent probably a good hour and a half filling mine out. So with that being said, shall we get right into it? We don't have to spend a long time on who we picked because we want a little bit of surprise in there, but we'll go ahead and start off with my bracket.
Okay.
Let me pull this up really quick.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't even have mine pulled up.
Yeah, I actually have the scores pulled up right now. Yeah, so Duquesne, the 11 seed, beat BYU, a 6 seed, which we're also in a group, I guess a group with our coworkers. So pretty much everybody from the office is playing. And I don't think anybody picked Duquesne to beat BYU. North Carolina is up 40-26 on Wagner right now. Michigan State beat Mississippi State 69-51. Arizona up 62-41 over Long Beach. And then Creighton's up 75-60 over Akron. So pretty good on picks so far. I'll go right and say it. I picked UConn as my national champion. And I feel really good about that pick.
Yeah.
UConn is a team that feels, and you can argue this with the other 1 seeds too, but I feel like above all the other 1 seeds, they're the number 1 overall seed for a reason. They're just the most complete team.
Yeah.
They've got speed, they've got size, really lights out on both offense and defense. I feel like they're going to go back to back. I think.
Which that's the funny part for me. Like I picked Houston. That shouldn't be much of a surprise.
Yeah.
My fiance works for Houston. I'm not going to not pick Houston.
Right.
So part of that was fandom. I also think Houston's the most complete team if they're up to full strength. There's the part that worries me. For UConn, it worries me because it's so hard to go back to back.
It's tough.
That's tough.
It hasn't happened since 2007, I believe.
Yeah, and so that's the part that makes me like, ooh, I don't know, man. It's hard to go back to back. The thing with Houston, I think that they could absolutely win it if they can stay healthy.
Yes.
If they can't stay healthy, it's going to be real hard.
Right. So you've got Houston. I have UConn. Who's in your Final Four?
My Final Four, I had Houston beating Purdue and UConn over Arizona. So I have UConn and Houston in the championship game, but I took the Cougs after that.
So I've got UConn beating Arizona in the Final Four, and then I have Purdue beating Kentucky on the other side of the bracket.
Okay.
And then I have UConn playing Purdue. And it's kind of one of those things with Houston, too. I've watched Purdue play a lot this year.
Right.
Very familiar with their style of play. Obviously, they've got the man in Zach Edey. They're not a reliable tournament team, as we've seen in the past. Shout out North Texas a couple years ago for beating them first round. Probably the best game I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah. I thought I was.
Amazing.
I don't know how I didn't get a noise complaint that night.
I know, right? But they're not a super reliable tournament team. But I also feel like they haven't been as good as they've been this year. Now, they didn't win the Big Ten tournament. Illinois knocked them out.
Yeah, I watched that.
Illinois knocked them out.
No, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin knocked them out. That's right, because Wisconsin then played Illinois. Yeah. Okay. But I think if they're all healthy, if they remain healthy, I think they could make a deep run and make it to the championship. But I ultimately think that UConn is my favorite.
I think, and this might be Big 12 homer showing in me too, but I think Iowa State is a heck of a team, and I think that's someone that people are going to have to watch out for.
I think so too. What about, I guess now we can kind of go through some of your upset picks. Let's go first round. Give me like 2 of your picks that, I can go first if you want me to. 2 upset picks that you picked in the first round.
Well, I got one of them.
Okay.
I picked, and this was just me trying to to one up people in the bracket if I possibly could. I've got Samford over Kansas. Kansas has been injury prone, and the other thing is too, I felt like that was a fairly safe upset pick because I do think that even if Kansas won, I don't think that they would beat Gonzaga. So I was like, okay, as long as Gonzaga wins, and then I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and pick this, and I'm going to try for an upset pick with Kansas.
Yeah, so I think the word right now is that Hunter Dickinson, their big man, is probably going to play, but Kevin McCullar is their top guy. I think he might be out. And without those two guys, that team is completely different. I mean,
so different.
Absolutely different, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So that's a really good pick. I would not be surprised if that happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna be hyped if I was to get that one right.
Yeah. Let me see. What other upset pick did I have? I really liked, and we talked a little bit about this on TFT, I really like number 11 seed New Mexico over 6 seed Clemson. Now, New Mexico, to pick these upsets, I read that, and I like to read all these little tips and tricks, because it's supposedly going to make me better.
And then you're just going to get it wrong.
And then I'm just going to get it more upset, But it's really safe to go with conference tournament winners, not the regular season, conference tournament winners, because right now March Madness is all about getting hot. It's all about getting hot at the right time and how many games you can win in a row, right? New Mexico's getting hot right now. They won the WAC tournament, and they're on a 4 or 5 game winning streak right now. And I
thought Grand Canyon won the WAC.
What is New Mexico? No, you're right. New Mexico's in the Mountain West. I'm sorry. Grand Canyon's in the WAC.
Yeah.
New Mexico is in the Mountain
West.
So they did win the Mountain West.
Yeah,
and they've got a couple of good wins too. I think they have a win over Arizona this year or something maybe not Arizona. They got a good couple of quad 1 wins in there. And Clemson's just also one of those teams that they just haven't looked very good this year in ACC play, which the ACC isn't really that. Nah. They weren't that great at basketball this year, so that worries me.
The only other one that I picked that I didn't actually pick, but if I had to give you another upset watch to be on, I think NC State over Tech could be a possibility.
Yeah.
You want to talk about getting hot at the right time? NC State won 5 games in the tournament.
Yeah.
They won 5 games to go win their conference, and it's like, that's insane. So I don't know, and Tech got bounced pretty early, so it could be one of two things. NC State might be winded because they've played so much in the past week, and Tech got quite a bit of rest, or Tech's going to come out sluggish, which under Grant McCasland probably won't happen. But if I had to choose one other one that I would say put on upset watch, NC State over Tech.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because NC State is the team that whipped Clemson in the ACC tournament.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's Clemson shaky, so I would go New Mexico over that. I had another upset pick. I liked Oregon a lot over South Carolina. Oregon's the team. They won the Pac-12. They had a really good win over Arizona earlier on in the season. They look really, really stout right now. I don't think South Carolina has looked super.
Not on the men's side, no.
No, not. Yeah, well, we can talk about that. But yeah, they rattled off 4 straight wins heading into the tournament. They just look really, really. Oregon looks really, really good right now. So that's my other one. This is another one. I didn't pick them, but I really like this James Madison team.
Yeah.
They have
You're still scarred from week 1.
I am. They played us really, really well.
Your Sparty is showing.
No, but they've got a matchup with Wisconsin, which Wisconsin's been they've had a Jacqueline Hyde kind of season, really, really hot and cold in the Big Ten. They fell short to, of course, Illinois in the Big Ten tournament this year. But James Madison's looked really, really good. They have 3 losses on the year.
They're
they
good.
won. Right. I believe they were the winner in Conference USA. I could be wrong about that. But they've rattled off a couple of really good straight wins here, too. So I wouldn't be surprised if James Madison gives Wisconsin a run for their money. I still picked Wisconsin because I think that just the level of play and the teams that they have both come across this year, Wisconsin obviously has the upper hand in that. Let me see. What else has really stood out to me? Give me a team that you think could go pretty far. Maybe not make it to the Final Four, but maybe a team that...
I think Iowa State. I really,
State,
I
okay.
really think Iowa State can do that.
Okay.
If you wanted something a little bit more off the beaten path,
I went with Creighton on mine. They're a 3 seed, so
I have Creighton going almost all the way until they get to Purdue.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's exactly. So, so we talked about that. I picked Creighton over Tennessee, which might come back and bite me in the butt there. But that Tennessee tournament loss by Mississippi State, I believe they absolutely whipped Tennessee. That scared me a little bit. They looked super, super vulnerable there. And Creighton's looked pretty solid. I mean, they're a pretty solid team all around. They don't really have ups and downs. They've just looked really good. I think that they definitely have the pedigree to make it pretty far, maybe to the Elite Eight. But I would say mine is definitely Creighton. I'm going to pick them.
All right.
To go kind of far. So
there you go. Chief bracketologist Mallory Hartley.
Well, sort of.
Reporting for duty.
Totally. Yeah, there's our men's bracket. We can kind of glaze over our women's bracket if we want, because we both. Did you make your women's bracket? Mm-hmm. You did? Okay. Let me pull mine up here. I did not have it up.
I mean, here to hit the women's bracket quickly. I mean, I would be shocked if South Carolina and Iowa were not there again. I really would. Obviously, I think LSU has fallen off a little bit. You know what would be awesome is seeing Vic Schaefer's Texas Longhorns make a run. I mean, they're the number 1 seed down there in the lower quadrant of the bracket. I don't know which one that it says. Portland 4,
Regional 4. That's what it says. Maybe the West.
Yeah. I don't think we're West, but yeah. Anyway, I would be shocked not to see South Carolina in Iowa.
I had South Carolina, Notre Dame, Iowa, and LSU in my Final Four, which seems pretty solid.
Yeah.
I had South Carolina and LSU in my championship. Because the thing I think we're inevitably going to see an LSU-Iowa matchup, I think, on that right side of the bracket in the Final Four. It's just one of those things. It's like, do you go with the team that has the girl, right? Has the all-star player in Caitlin Clark? Or do you go with an LSU team that has multiple different weapons on multiple areas of the court? You know, it's just kind of one of those things. Can Caitlin Clark can she go off like she has been, drop 40 points, pull up from the logo 8 times a game, and completely take down this complete LSU team?
Yeah.
But I think South Carolina is going to beat any one of those teams, though, no matter what. I think they're just too solid.
I think South Carolina is the most complete team.
I think so, too.
But I can never count out Caitlin Clark. And it really, I think the thing that sealed the deal for me on that front was her senior night, when she knew for a fact that was the last time. And, I mean, she just popped off. We can talk as much as we want about generational talents, and I know I'm not preaching anything new here, but I mean, she truly is a generational talent, and I think the thing that separates her and makes her really skyrocket into that upper echelon of being one of the most elite basketball players that we've seen is the fact that when the big stage is there, when the big lights come on, that's literally when she plays her best basketball. And that's crazy because she plays her best basketball all the time.
Right.
She doesn't have a bad game, to anybody's standards. To her standards, she might have a bad game, but she doesn't have a bad game, yet she continues to just get better the bigger the stage.
Right.
And it's like, you want to talk about something that...
You want to talk about what March Madness embodies?
Now, that's the biggest thing. If Iowa can get past LSU in the Final Four, I think that the South Carolina-Iowa game in the championship would be incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible.
I agree.
Dawn Stanley is the GOAT.
Yes.
I mean, she's incredible. Her whole team,
I think so too. I would love to see that. We'd have to have a watch party for that because I myself am a Caitlin Clark gal. Definitely want to see her play at some point in the WNBA when they come play whoever she gets, probably the Indiana Fever, which is kind of what it's looking like.
She's
for
definitely
number 1
going
lock.
there.
Yeah. They're coming to play the Dallas Wings in, I believe, July.
Yeah.
Ish and I looked that up when we were at the UNT game the other day, but we definitely need to buy our tickets for that game because seeing her in person is something on my bucket list, and it has been for the past 2 years. So definitely definitely rooting for her.
I can,
as well.
Speaking from experience, it's incredible.
Yeah, right.
I
mean, you've seen her in person too. Yeah,
I saw her in the
last year at the
championship
Final Four.
game. Yep.
That's right. Yeah, I'm jealous of that.
Well, I saw her.
Really
the semifinal
awesome.
game was even more
Yeah.
fun than the championship game.
Because they lost in the championship game.
Yeah, the semifinal game where she popped off was one of the coolest basketball experiences that I've ever. I felt like a little kid.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm getting paid to do this. This should be illegal because I'm having too much fun.
Exactly. And then in the NIT bracket, I did not make an NIT bracket, but I can tell you who's going to win. We're going back to back, baby.
Go Mean Green.
North Texas Mean Green had a dominant win over LSU in the first round 2 nights ago. We were watching that while we were cricketing and making our pickleball T-shirts. But really, really dominant showing by the Mean Green. Yeah, dominant showing by the Mean Green. I'm picking them to go back to back as NIT champions.
Let's go.
So
and the
go
women
Mean
are
Green,
in the women are in the
NIT as well. I think they played tonight. And I think they played their first round tonight, I believe. Yes, I'm almost positive. Down there in Fort Worth. Or I guess over there in down and over in Fort Worth, I guess.
Down and over. Directions.
Directions are tough. But yeah, a little bit of March Madness talk in honor of the first official day of the NCAA tournament. So I feel really good about my bracket. My men's and women's bracket.
Good.
I always do on the first day. Do have one loss, but that's okay. That's all right.
You started off with a Sparty win, so you're riding high
really
for the rest
feeling
of the
good.
time.
I'm riding high. I feel good. Doesn't matter what we do.
North Carolina up next.
Doesn't matter what we do from here on out. Just wanted to get past the first round and silence all the haters for saying, Michigan State doesn't deserve to be in the tournament. They got 19 losses or whatever around the year. And I'm
she's
like,
fine. Yeah, she's doing great, if you can't tell.
I'm like, bro, don't count out Izzo in March, okay? That's why we got in. So, anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. Sorry that we have been kind of absent here on Women Talking Football the last couple weeks. We should be back on a regular schedule here within, I guess, the next few weeks or so. Not really much craziness coming up here.
No, and we'll get back to talking football, too.
Yeah, we'll talk some football next week.
We're going to start bringing in more coaches' wives. If there's any coaches' wives out there that you would like to hear from on the show, please send them our way. We would love to talk to anybody, but we'll start doing that, diving into some of our off-season research, crunching the numbers and all that. But football time is upon us again on WTF.
Heck yeah, let's do it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts.
Spotify, you messed it up. Let's go.
We'll see you guys next Thursday at 2 p.m. barring any crazy events or sickness. We'll see you next Thursday.